All right, guys, here in the hangar, gonna pre-flight my bird and go for a flight in a little bit. But in this video, we were talking about the cheapest ways to fly. And honestly, it's so frustrating. I see the Cessnas and the cheapest way to fly is the video gets hundreds of thousands of views, and it's just not true. And then the other thing that drives me nuts is some of the videos that say, you can fly these without a license. Most of them you cannot. And then they put these fictitious prices up. Maybe they're retail prices or whatever, but let's talk about what's realistic. If you're looking to get into this, there's multiple ways you can do it. If you have the money and the finances, then pick what you like and buy it. If you don't, then find something that's affordable. For example, say you don't want to get your pilot's license. You just want to fly around your neighborhood and putt around and enjoy life. That's fine. You can get something like this, Part 103. This is an airplane that you can fly without a license because it has a single seat and 5 gallons of fuel, small engine, and it meets the speed requirements. I'm not gonna get into all that. Look that up in Part 103 of the FAR AIM and figure that out on your own. If you're at the next level to where you want to go above those, then you can get a plane like the Challenger 2. And there are a lot of planes that fit in the same category. And you can be in these far cheaper than a Cessna and have cheaper annual maintenance, cheaper everything. So basically, I'm just in this video, it's not a real detailed video, guys. I'm just putting this video out because I keep seeing all these other videos and it's super frustrating. So let's talk about the expense of an airplane like this. For starters, the plane itself, okay? So you can find a Challenger 2 or like aircraft anywhere from, $10,000 all the way up to, $20,000, $25,000 depending on what you want. There's a really cool GT 500 that is the same setup as this, except for it's a Quicksilver and it's enclosed and it has a bigger engine, and it's like 17 or 18 grand right now on social media. So that kind of gives you an idea where you will be price-wise in an airplane like this. That's your biggest cost. Your second biggest cost is going to be the hangar. So it depends on where you go. I've heard hangars as low as like 150 to 175, and I've heard it as high as 500. But obviously the 500 is when it's at like a controlled airspace and it's like a kind of a really nice hangar. I love this hangar, but this is not at a towered airport or anything. We're at a grass strip, so I won't get into the details of what I pay, but I'm somewhere in the middle there, okay? And so you should definitely plan for that. The other big cost, so that's a monthly cost. The other big cost is just the rebuilding of your engine. Now, the general maintenance on your engine is fairly minimal because a lot of these airplanes, pretty much all these airplanes, have 2-stroke Rotax on them, and they are, I don't want to say low maintenance, but they don't really require a lot as long as you're paying attention to things. For example, this is my 503. The biggest expenses I have on an annual basis is my spark plugs, which are at the bottom because this is it's inverted in place here. And so I have 2 fuel filters on my plane and the spark plugs. The spark plugs are $40 or 10 bucks a piece. The filters are $11 a piece. So annually, that's kind of what I'm investing into the engine. Also, once a year, you should definitely replace your fuel lines. I think the last order I did for fuel lines was like 70 bucks, mainly because I have a primer, and the primer lines, there's 2 of them. They run all the way up the distance of the plane and all the way back. Some people don't like the primer, but I have my primer figured out and I really enjoy it. So yeah. Other costs, which I haven't had to do it yet because I've had this airplane over 2 years. And this is the original, this is the GT2. It's not dry rotted or cracked, it's in there good. So for now I'm leaving that. But when you go to do that, that's about $100. One expensive thing is props. Like this is the prop it's a Tennessee climb prop. I would like to have a warp drive, but I don't really want to spend all that money on a warp drive right now. I just kind of like my plane the way it is. And when I'm working or I have some income, then I will start dumping some money into this. For example, most Challengers have the fairings on the struts. Mine does not. Why? I don't know. People who owned it were cheap. I'm cheap. Well, I'm not cheap, but I just don't have income right now. So That being said, I'm trying to make this channel better and bigger. So if you can, please, if you haven't yet, like the video, comment in the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. If I posted this on Facebook and you're watching this video from Facebook, people put hundreds of comments on Facebook, but then they don't put any comments on the video. So if you put comments on the video, it really helps me out, and I really want to be able to expand this channel and do things. I am unemployed. It doesn't pay a lot. It pays pennies to do this. But if you get enough people, those pennies add to dollars and so on and so forth. So if you could do that, I'd really appreciate that. Back to the video. So another cost that you would have on a plane like this, I put these on about 1.5 years ago. These were from Amazon, and they were about 30 bucks a piece. This one was only like $20, which I haven't replaced that one yet. That's the one that came with the plane. Since I've gotten the plane, the only major things I've had to do, or not major, but plugs, filters, fuel lines. That is literally cheaper than one spark plug on an airplane, on a Cessna or something like that. Sorry guys, I'm trying to remember the sun here. So for a couple $100 a year, this airplane has what it needs. Also, it does require an annual inspection, like a condition inspection, kind of like an annual on an airplane, except for with our planes, it's a lot cheaper because realistically, everything is exposed. So when the AMP goes and looks at everything, it's all there. They don't have to pull the front of the plane off or pull a bunch of inspection panels because everything is visible. So you can get, the cheapest annuals I've heard of is $100. Somebody has an AMP and they just come and spend 4 or 5 hours and look it over and sign you off. The most expensive one I heard on a Challenger was $400. But I think it was because a person was in a pickle. I don't know, don't quote me on that. So now we're at like $300 or $400 into the actual airplane a year, where on a Cessna or any of these planes that they're putting on these videos, it is far more. It is like you're gonna the cheapest annual I've heard on a Cessna was $500, and that's just a baseline. As soon as they find something wrong with that airplane, you could spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I bought a Grumman Yankee because I thought, well, that would be the cheapest way to get back into flying. And I paid $25,000 for the airplane. And after having the plane a couple weeks, it was supposed to go into annual, and a person looked at it and said, hey, just so you know, this annual is probably going to be $5 to 10 grand. I was like, holy geez. Luckily, the guy I bought it from had seller's remorse, and so he bought it back from me, and then he ended up spending $8,000 on the annual. Now, he definitely flies faster, probably looks a little cooler, but you know, we're doing the same thing. I didn't buy this plane because I'm traveling around the country and trying to cover a bunch of distance. I bought this plane because I want to go have fun. And with my kids, there's fields. I do longer trips. You saw I went to Reclaw. I mean, that was, you know, 120 some odd mile round trip. I don't mind doing the long treks in this plane, but that's not what it's for. If I need to do that, I'll go rent Derek's Cherokee or the 172 at the local school. That's the other thing too. Obviously, I'm a private pilot, so this expands what I can fly. My private pilot allows me to fly sport aircraft as well. So some other costs that you're gonna have is gonna be your stuff that you use while you're flying. I'm gonna go grab that right now, hold on. All right, and before I get into this stuff that you're gonna need if you're gonna, well, you don't absolutely have to have this stuff, but it's stuff that'll aid you while you're flying. And actually a couple of them you do need to have, and I'll tell you why. But before I get too deep into that, rebuilding this engine is probably gonna cost you about $3,000. So they say the TBO is 300. So you get 300 hours of flight time, so $1,000 for every 100 hours. You could break that down in the cost if you want. Obviously, if you buy like a Cessna or something like that, that TBO, the time until that engine needs to be overhauled is much further, like a couple thousand hours. Yes, you could factor that in, but a lot of planes don't get flown very often. As a matter of fact, I've seen some airplanes that have the original engine, the original airframe, original hours. They have 1,500 hours, but it's a 1960s. So, you know, the cost, it doesn't really, you know, add up. In my opinion. I would love to, for the record, I'm gonna be getting a Zenith at some point in time. That's my hopes for if I can build things up. And the Zenith will probably have like a 912 or Rotax 912. And that's gonna require more, it's gonna be more expensive, but it's still an experimental. So there'll still be a far less to it than there is to a general aviation aircraft like a Cessna or a Grumman or something like that. So factor in that engine cost. My airplane has just over 300 hours on it, but about 80 hours ago, the engine was gone through by a Rotax certified person. and they gave it the all clear. And I've heard of people running Rotax 503s. As long as you're using it and running it often, I've heard them running it up to 500-600 hours. I know everybody will have their opinions on that, and that's fine. You're all entitled to it. If my engine starts to show any signs of getting tired, then we'll shut her down and we'll get it rebuilt. If you want to complain about that, leave it in the comments of the video. I'd appreciate that. So now let's talk about the things that you're going to need inside the plane. So now we've roughly figured out that the plane's anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. You have probably $500 a year just in fuel filters and spark plugs and things like that. You're going to have your hangar cost, but you also need the stuff that you're in the cockpit with. All right, so I'm going to start with the headsets. There's a couple different ways you can go. If you're not going to fly very often, then just get yourself something like the Rugged Airs. I've had these for 3 years now. They were 120 bucks. They fit good, they feel good, they work good, but they're not fancy. So like 130 bucks, you could have some Rugged Airs. Then there's like the Bose A20s with noise canceling. And these are about $1,200 to $1,300. And I believe now the A20s are obsolete, not obsolete, but there's up to the A30s. So, you know, you could be spending up to $1,500 for a good headset if you do it right. That's completely up to you. I fly other planes as well, so the noise canceling works out really great. And this was gifted to me for my birthday by a really good friend, so thanks, buddy. All right, so these two things here, this is my iPad mini. It's a 5th generation, and this is a Stratus 3. This is about $700-800 on Sporty's or My Pilot Store. It's about the same for the iPad. I have the pivot system that you can get, and that's this case. Sorry. That's this case that's around it, and this is where I put it on my knee. If you watch some of my older videos, my iPad is normally mounted up on the instrument area, but I broke the little tab and I have a new one on the way. So until that comes, I'm gonna be keeping it on my knee board. And the Stratus is on a suction mount inside the plane. These will communicate with each other. If you're buying an iPad, I would prefer to get one with the satellite, with the GPS installed in it. Actually, it's called, what is it called? I don't know. It's the one where it can see its location. You can get it without that and then rely on this. But like, if this decides to stop working, then this will no longer know where you are. I have had that happen once where this stopped working, but this one has the, I can't think of, there's a word for it, but it has a GPS built into it. So it saw where it was still, and then it came back. Side note, if you take this to fly in a different airplane that already has ADS-B out, then this could show a phantom airplane. It's happened to me multiple times in the 172 and the Cherokee. First time it happened to me, my heart dropped because all of a sudden it said traffic, traffic, same altitude, right behind you. And it made me so scared I puckered up, and then I called tower and I said, hey, it says there's somebody right on me. The tower was like, rest assured there's not. It turns out that this will give you a phantom airplane. So just be careful of that. That's a side note. Then the last thing I have in the plane with me, other than a bunch of GoPros that cost a ton of money because I wanted to make a YouTube channel, why, I don't know, but here I am, is my Yaesu 550. I wasn't a fan of this until I installed the antenna. This was $250 through Sporty's, and it works really good. It actually, I'll show you here, hold on. So I didn't actually like the Yaesu when I was using it with its stock. I didn't like it when I was using it with its stock antenna, but now I have the hardwired antenna that goes up into there and it comes out right here. This is off of a 172 or something. And it works really good, and I grounded it really well. You could see all that metal tape. It's touching the bottom of that, and I did the metal tape, this whole shroud and that whole shroud all have metal tape, and they're all connected. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I can hear into space with my thing. Not literally, but like literally, no problem to hear 50 miles away, crystal clear, and they could talk to me. On my 4th of July video, I flew over a lake for fireworks, and people who were over 50 miles away from me were having a clear conversation. They probably had no idea I was in a plane like this. So if you're gonna get something like that, you definitely wanna get the antenna installed. The other one back there is my ELT, but you definitely want to have that. That's going to make a world of difference. And it's, trust me, definitely worth it for your safety and for others. So I know I was just going into the cost of stuff. So now I've given you a breakdown of what I pay for everything. So now you just have to decide whether you're going to go this route or go into general aviation. It depends. A lot of it depends on whether you want to have a sport license or a private pilot's license. I know with Mosaic, that's going to get all out of whack here in the next year. If you don't know anything about Mosaic, look it up. I don't even know everything about Mosaic. What I've been hearing. I'm waiting for it to actually hit the floor so that it's in stone, and then I'll read through it. But if you want to just fly like this, there's no harm in this. You can get your sport pilot's license in your Challenger. Would I suggest only doing like the one airplane? No. I suggest getting as many models as you can under your belt. Even if like you have a friend who has a 172, go and learn in that, not learn, but go and pay attention to what they're doing. They'll let you fly, and you know, most people do anyways, and just get the feeling for the airplane. And it's really going to be helpful for you in the long run. And also it'll help you decide. Some people get bored. I personally I'm a private pilot and I fly those planes, but I get really bored of them. This airplane keeps me on my toes. It's affordable. It's fun. Everybody who gets in the backseat of that plane goes, wow, how come I haven't done this sooner? So this is all things to take into consideration. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. If I didn't cover something, bring it up. If you know something that I'm not talking about, put it in the comments. I just really appreciate your guys' support. If you've made it this far, please like, share, subscribe. You could do super thanks, which is down the little money sign down here. You could do, I have an Amazon wish list down in the down in the description. Yeah, I just really appreciate you guys. Doing this channel is not something I ever really thought at 40 years old I would start doing. Actually, I was like 37, 38. But at basically 40 years old, starting a YouTube channel and trying to make something up is never something I thought I could do. And I can't do it without you guys. So I really appreciate you guys, and especially the positive comments. I get far more. The first few videos I did was a lot of negative comments, but now that I've done it more, it's definitely been way more positive, and I appreciate that. Obviously, if you have some critiques or criticisms, feel free to leave them. Just leave them kindly. I'm a human, so let's be human about things. But anyways, let me know what you guys decide down in the comments. Are you going to get a plane like the Challenger, or are you going to go with something more expensive? Let me know. Thanks, guys.